Alright, to start off, let me just remind y'all on this channel, I'm just giving my perspective, my point of view. I'm not saying this is the way to live life. I'm just saying this is the way I live life and my virtues that I'm projecting onto the world. So just remember, it's my projection of my own perspective. Don't get caught up in what I'm saying. You could live your life the way you want to. It's just me expressing my views. So, hey, today's video, we're talking about how family shapes you. I want to go deep on this one because this is a really deep subject and it's deeper rooted than most people think, which is why we say family roots, because the root of the problems determine how your tree in your life is gonna flourish. I'm using metaphors and play on words, but if y'all understand, y'all understand. When it comes to family, they're the people that raised you. They're the people that had you since you were since you were a sperm cell. And all you can do is depend on family. As a kid, you're the most vulnerable, the most dependent thing that there is. Like a lot of animals, when they have kids, they either don't have like they leave their kids in the nature, or they keep them nurtured for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then they are off into the wild hunting or learning how to fly, getting forced out of the nest. As humans, we got 16 years until we become like 13 for some of until we become the right age where we're, more dependent, where we could do stuff on our own, where we could freely move out in the world. And even then, that's a young age. Like 18 is when you're considered an adult. So up until that point, all we can do is depend on our family, which is why it's very important, because who you depend on, it says a lot about you and it can shape you very much. Now, the one thing where I want to start off with is talking about the privileged kids, the rich kids. Now, y'all would think that the rich kids would have more sense, that they will move through the world better. No, that's not the case. When it comes to rich children, the problem with that is that the parents are the ones who made the money, and the children are the ones who inherited the money. So the parents worked and the kids received. The kids don't necessarily understand the value, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that the previous generations put to get to where you're at, to where you could be successful and going to a private school and enjoying life, not ever having to worry about food or anything. Or simply, like, not even for privileged kids. Like, I could say kids that just always had a full fridge, that lived in a house that always had running water. Like, nigga, you're privileged, but like, you're privileged to not have to be forced to fight for yourself. Now, I know we're privileged with family, but at the same time, family can be your biggest downfall, because we don't choose what family we come here with. Well, some would say you do, but you come here and you don't choose who they get to be. You don't choose who they are. They just are who they are, and you can't control that. They can't control you. No control in the family system, but there are families that like to move like that. When I talk about the privilege, I'm talking about the rich kids. I'm gonna take this as a far example. The rich kids, they tend to have lack of character. They tend to be snobby and thinking that they're better because they have the money, which is very superficial. Yes, but at the same time, they think that because their parents brought them up like that, because they have the money, they never put in the work, they're just gonna be naturally entitled. And that's the problem with rich kids these days. With social media, they could just amplify their reach and everybody could just see how much of douchebags they are, you know? Now, on the opposite side of the story, let's talk about someone like Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, his backstory was terrible. Like, I wouldn't even be able to go through that. He was homeless at a very young age because his mother didn't like his face because he looked like his absent father. That's tough. Jimmy got blessed and was lucky enough to get adopted by a family. Some will be like, oh, it was a white family. He got adopted by a family that gave a fuck about him, and he ended up becoming an NBA player. You can't tell me he's a great NBA player, too. I know they just lost the finals, but man's busted his ass. He's an NBA player. That's greatness right there. You can't tell me that life story is not great. That if he didn't, that the reason he is Jimmy Butler is because he came up through all those adversities. That even though his mother disowned him, he still became great. Like, he still showed up for himself, even though his family was never even around for him in the first place. And that's one thing. When we look at the way Jimmy Butler is as a person, he's very headstrong. He's that fucking leader that, well, for y'all that have heard, y'all hear that he's a locker room disruption. He'll fuck up the team chemistry. No. Only on the Wolves, only on the Sixers, only for people that didn't want to compete as hard as him. That's a problem. But when you put him on a team with fighters, with people who are really about it, people that actually love them basketball, you're going to see him go to the finals 2 years in the past 4 years. Like, come on. Come on. You put a leader around the right people, you're going to get a great army. Now, even though Jimmy was disowned, that in of itself, even though his mom, he didn't have a dad around to teach him the ethics of and the values of just working hard, getting on it, being persistent, all that. Even though he didn't have family, he was still, or he was forced to learn that himself or die. Or just like, it all depends to how you handle adversity. If your family is not supportive of you, are you just gonna be like, I'm not getting support, I can't do anything in life? Or are you gonna go after your dreams regardless of what anybody says, blocking out all that noise? Because family will instill the hardworking beliefs, they have past experiences that they should share down, so you in the younger generation should not run into blockages that they ran into. But a lot of families don't like to do that. Instead, they like to pass on all the negative stuff and never give on the positive attributes to the children. They'll teach them, don't do this, don't do that, you can't do this because it's not realistic, when in reality that's how you think, that's how you were raised. I'm in a different era, I'm in a different generation. There's more possibilities that your old ass can't even imagine. And it's just tough because I see each generation, like just looking back in history, people are like, oh, the last generation is retarded. Like, millennials would be like, Gen Z has problems. And then I already see us at Gen Z, we're like, oh, these tablet kids, they're going to be a problem. When in reality, yes, they may be only on the tablets and stuff, but there's a positive to every negative. So with that being said, family is genetic, is DNA. So there are genetic traits that get inherited from being passed down from bloodlines. This is where you could say generational curses. And that's tough. Like, if your parents gave birth to you and your mother was irresponsible and had drugs in her system, that's not your fault. Like, you can't do anything about that. But at the same time, when you're born and as you develop through life and just move on your journey, you're going to have problems with substance abuse because from birth, your body was dependent on that. So it's your job to fix it, you know? Let's say your family is from poverty. It's your job to get that poverty mindset out of your head. If your family always bashes each other, it's your job to get that negative self-talk out of your head. Like, our family from the roots raises us to be who we become, whether it's good or bad. Whether you're an entitled, spoiled little brat at the age of 30, or you're a hard ass, like you're a kid that don't take any shit and you just fuck around in the world. Like, so for me, I don't understand why the last generation will complain about the next generation. If our tablet kids end up being shitheads, I'm gonna blame it on us because, or yeah, I think the millennials are the ones having the tablet kids, so we got to be a good example. But in the end, the previous generation needs to really think about the future instead of being so caught up in their generation. Like, times are changing. Come on. Y'all can't be so stuck in your ways to where you're literally hindering our future. Because parents will do that. They'll block off their kids from being as successful as they can be out of fear or fucking, I don't know. Some parents don't want to see their kids be better than them, which I don't understand. Because if you love the kid, they should come back and help the family, right? But hey, people are twisted out here. Even your family could be your biggest adversaries. And it's tough, but hey, you just gotta work with the cards you're dealt, you know? If you get a shitty hand, you just gotta draw and play with it. Like, can't just and ask for a new hand. Nah, this is life. And hey, no matter if you're dealing with family or not, just understand that you are your own independent person. You will, no matter what, look out for yourself. Yes, family is important. Community is important as shit. But if you're in a toxic community, all you can do, like, what are you gonna do? Sit there and be poisoned or leave? And this all just goes down to like knowing the intentions of people, knowing whether people are secret haters or not, and it really be your own niggas. It really be the niggas closest to you, which is terrible. But hey, that's just how life works. It may not be ideal, but it's what we got to deal with. A lot of people are lost in their own minds where they can't just accept reality for what it is, you know? Okay, I'm about to hammer down this last point, then we're gonna call it. My grandma used to always say something like, something starts at home and spreads abroad. I forgot what that something was, but if y'all know, if y'all have heard, because they all use the same quotes. There's people that, never mind. I could get into that in another video, but I always say that. But The lessons that you learn from home, you take out into the world. Your home is kind of your tutorial grounds, your safe space where it should be your safe space, where you learn how to step into the world. Hey, if your tutorial is on hard mode, when you step into the world may look a little easier. Or the world can be easy, but you keep yourself stuck on hard instead of going in creative. Let me make it more practical to y'all. Okay. Your background affects and makes you who you are in the present. The actions that you've taken in the past, the beliefs that you have in the past, that makes you who you are in the present. That includes the way you were raised, the way family speaks to you, the way family treated you, positive or negative, whether you were neglected or not. Like, something simple as not being around emotionally can cause emotional neglect, and that could fuck up a person in more ways than you could possibly think. And just simple shit like that just shows how deep even the smallest thing can be if you really look into it. So I want y'all to look deep into your roots and start fertilizing your soil so we could have a better treat. I don't know. But it's a serious topic. I just want y'all to think about the things you do, why you do those things, what beliefs from the past make you act out this way in the present, and overall, do you want to keep living that way? Like, now we're old enough to be the parental figure, the wiser version of ourselves that we needed, you know? So hey, with that being said, like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.